Yo, we're back. Some more development of my action-packed action game. So today, we're gonna get the Silverside Rewind complete. At least I hope. I aim to complete it, right? We got the visualization. During the last stream. So this stream, the goal is to get a working Silverside Rewind implementation, like a complete implementation, not just a visualization. So I'm just gonna rebuild my project because it gave me an error. I'm not sure what that error is for, because I built it during my last stream at the end. So just want to see if I get an error that I missed. Okay, so I did get an error. I didn't see this. I guess I wasn't paying attention. Right. Let's fix that. I did remove this friend class at the end of the last stream. So let's just add it back. And this should fix the errors. And we can get this on the road. And we're good to start. So let's get this show on the road with some more development. All right, so let's recap what we did yesterday. Okay, so we initialized this component, the server validation component, with a reference to the character. This is getting called in the begin play of the character. And then in tick, if this reference is valid and we are on the server, we are the authoritative character, we're calling this function, which is update recorded history information linked list, which updates this linked list right here that holds this structure, right? It holds this structure. It's a linked list of this structure, these objects, right? So within this function, we're checking to see if we have at least two. If we don't have at least two elements inside the linked list, if we don't, we add two, and the elements that are added store the, you know, the time at the, it stores the time that we save, you know, all the box component information that we set up during the last stream. And then we check to see if the tail and the head is valid, because we need to access the tail and the head. And then we get the time of the element that's inside of the tail. So we're getting this time within this structure that's located inside the tail, and we're getting the same thing for the head. And then we're checking to see if the time span between the head and the tail is greater than the threshold, the maximum threshold that we want to record, right? So if it's greater than this, we are entering a do while loop. And in this do while loop, I don't like the way this looks. There. Within this do while loop, actually, so within this do while loop, we are we're checking to see if the tail is valid. If it's valid, we're removing the tail, and then we're setting the time span of the complete linked list of all the nodes between the head and the tail. So we're basically getting the time again and checking it here. And as long as this time span is greater than the threshold, then we continue removing the tail, right? Because we only want to store the information for this duration of time. And to visualize it again, you see the character. This is the history that's being recorded, right? Right. If you can look at the end, it's like a replicant of my character, right? So whatever my character is doing is what's being stored. Like, that's the history, right? So that's what we're doing here in Tick, and we're just visualizing it. And I can actually I need to update this function so that we're always visualizing. When we do visualize it, we're always visualizing the threshold, right? Which is 0.7, but just so that it's consistent, like if we look at the declaration, it's 0.7, right? But just in case we end up changing it and then we want to visualize it again, let's just have this set right here so that it'll be consistent with the entire project, so we don't have to hard code it basically. So yeah, that's what we did yesterday, and now we have to get into the actual implementation of what's going to happen when we fire the weapon and how we're going to use this data to rewind time if the player is lagging. Okay, so first things first, I'm going to minimize all these tabs, and let me actually turn the visualization off because we don't need it. Right, it's called right here. And I can actually, I don't know if I want to call this in tick as a standalone function. Yeah, I'll just leave it here and comment it out. Right. Or rather, instead of commenting it like that, I will comment it like this. Right. Now we can move on to the latter half of the beast that has to be implemented for this. First things first, we need to go to, so I want to implement it first for weapons that are bullet scatter compatible. So think of shotguns, right? Shotguns fire more than one bullet, and I wonder why. Okay, I was wondering why it only spawned with the rocket launcher, but so as you see, there are multiple shots being fired when we fire the gun. Right? So for each one of these shots, we're gonna have to implement server-side rewind and make sure that the character that shot actually got a hit. So let's do that. Also, I forgot to say yesterday we implemented the authoritative server time. So all of our clients have a synchronized time with the server. Right, regardless of when they spawn in, the time is always synced with the server. Right. So that's pretty cool. And if you guys hear like a loud noise right now, it's because there's a huge train, like cargo train, passing by my house. So sorry about that. It will pass by momentarily, so again, sorry about the noise. Yo, Auditore, what's up, man? What's happening? We're just back with some more development. I pray you're doing well. I'm refreshed and ready to get this server-side rewind complete, at least mostly complete today. So that's what I'm working on right now. First things first is I need to add a server-side rewind boolean that we can use on all the weapon classes. So I'm gonna implement this right now, and I'll call this, I'll put this under the server category, and it'll be called B use server side rewind, and this is going to be a boolean, and it's going to be initialized to false. unless I don't know if I want to initialize it. Actually, I'll initialize it to true on all the weapons, but I'll disable it one by one when it needs to be disabled. So got the Boolean set, and that's all we need in the weapon class. In the weapon master class, we can now begin working within the raycast weapon, because that is where the shotgun is implemented, well, rather the bullet scatter. Been working on my chatbot. Had a struggle with implementing functionality. I prayed and eventually I got it to work. Heck yeah, man. Praise be to the Father God, Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. I'm glad He blessed you with that wisdom and knowledge, man. Through the power of His Holy Spirit, man. Heck yeah. Prayer is always good. You get that boost, right? He hears and he answers. So praise be to Jesus Christ, man. Amen. I'm glad you got it working. Was it were you tired? Is that what were you overlooking something because you were tired? Or was it just a problem with like an error within your logic? Or is it like do you think it was something that in the future, if it was represented to you, how do I phrase what I want to ask? Is this something that you like? Is this the first time you experienced this kind of problem in code, or is it something that you've experienced before but you were just tired? I was struggling with design and how to implement the logic. I learned that I need to break things down before just shooting in the dark. Oh yeah, you're talking about like pseudocode, break things down. So like before you start coding, like think about the logic, pseudocode it, or just get like a diagram or something in your head or whatever, a good understanding of it before writing it down. Is that what you mean? Okay, so let's go to the raycast weapons. Raycast weapons, and we need the declaration file, the header file. Yeah, diagram on paper or pseudocode. Yeah, for sure. Oh yeah, that's definitely the way to go. I do that when I know what I'm gonna work on is pretty gnarly. So I think that's in general good practice, right? Pseudocode it just to get your mind down, make sure like the logic makes sense before you actually get into the code and writing it down. That's what I do. And I didn't do it yesterday, but actually I did do it yesterday, but I didn't write it down. I just did it in my head. I thought about the logic and then I implemented it, but writing it down and getting it on paper and reviewing it and then looking at your notes while you code, that's the way to go right there, man. Doesn't get much better than that. That helps with a lot of frustration, at least for me. So yeah, let's implement this. So fire weapon. So when we fire the shotgun, what we want to do, if we're using bullet scatter, we go in here, right? And we check. We're basically generating raycasts for however many bullet scatter points we have, right? So what we want to do here is, okay, we're spotting the bullet trails. Now we're checking to see, let me see if there is a blocking hit on a current raycast. Check to see the character. Okay, now we're checking to see if we hit a character. So here is where we want to implement set confirmed bullet hit was headshot. Okay, this is where we want to implement the server side rewind for weapons similar to the shotgun. Right now, only the shotgun fires like this. So like I showed you before, any weapon that has multiple bullets or multiple pellets or shots like this that comes out, it's gonna have to have a different implementation, right? So sometimes when things seem simple at first glance, they can be pretty complicated too. Oh yeah, definitely, for sure. Yeah, that's why writing it down and analyzing it as if you're already coding really helps, because then you start to get all these edge cases that come to mind and you're like, oh man, I didn't even think about that, and then this and then that, and it just keeps growing and you're like, okay, I got a whole class that I need to create. Or maybe not that complicated, but you get what I'm trying to say. Like, it can grow really fast, right? So yeah, that's part of one of the best advices I ever got. Actually, I don't know if anybody told me that. I think I just started doing it. But yeah, it's one of my best advices to myself. So we're gonna check first if B use. We're gonna check if B use. But yeah, heck yeah, I'm glad you got it sorted out, man. I know how good it feels when things get complicated like that you have to pray, and then you get that result. It doesn't get better than that, man. So we're using BU's server side. We're checking if BU server side rewind is valid. We're gonna also check if, so we only want to do this if we are the server. No, we don't want to do server side rewind if we're not, if we are on the server, because the server doesn't need to rewind time for itself, right? It has the most updated time. So we need to check if our character is not the server. And I don't know if I have an instance of, okay, so we know we have the character right here, right? But we need to get an actual instance of the character. Or no, we don't. We can just, the weapon replicates, so we can just check if the weapon has authority, right? If the weapon is the authoritative instance of the weapon. So we can just say if does not have authority. So if BU server side rewind is true and let's say if has authority is false, right? And what else do we need to check? We have to be locally controlled, right? So we have to make sure the gun that we're using is locally controlled, right? And I think I need the character for this because I don't think an actor has this kind of functionality. I could check. We could check is locally. No, it doesn't have it. Okay, so I'm gonna have to get the character. I didn't want to cast, but I'm going to have to cast. The Lord gave you that advice? Yeah, for sure. Amen. All wisdom does come from God. You're definitely right. Was able to improve code documentation too. Heck yeah. Yeah, I have sessions where I just go back and just look at my notes and fix it up. Those are relaxing, more mellow sessions where I'm not when I don't want to like get into it and really implement new mechanics or new features. I just fix up my pseudocode and my notes and whatnot, comments, documentation, so that I can easily understand what I was doing if I have to read it, and if I have to read the green words. So I need to get a character. So right here is I am checking it. Let me see if this is a cast. If this is a cast, I might as well get I might as well just cast myself. So right, implements is get class, and it returns my class, and my class implements interface. Let's see what this does. Implements interface takes a U class, and checking if it's not null, if it has class flags, if it has this interface flag, and if it does not equal a static class, if that's the case, then it's doing a for loop, a const U class pointer, current class equals this, current class, and it is doing some interface, might be base. Okay, so it doesn't look like it's casting, or this is a boolean. Okay, this returns a boolean. Let me see. It might be casting. Let me see right here. Okay, so this is all right. So it doesn't look like it's casting. So I'll just leave this here, and I think I'm gonna have to cast. So I'm only gonna cast. I'm gonna create a variable here, and I'm only gonna cast if we have to use server-side rewind, right? Because I prefer not to cast. So I'm gonna create an animation entertainment character pointer. I'm gonna call this local character, right? And I'm not gonna initialize this. I'm just gonna put I'm gonna cast in this if check, right? And I'm only gonna cast after we get past these two checks. So if this is not true, we're not even gonna cast, right? And if this is true and this is not true, if this is true and this is true, we're not gonna cast. So this is gonna be the last thing we do. So it's kind of efficient, but it's still casting, but it's just making sure you cast only if you have to, right? So we're gonna put this in a wrap this in a parentheses, and we're gonna say this equals a cast to this class, and what's being casted is this right here. right? So I actually want to put this in a ternary operator, and so I'm going to say local character equals null pointer. If so, cast to this, right? And I'm trying to make sure I don't confuse myself with these parentheses. Otherwise, local character, and I'll put this on its own line. So we're gonna check. I want this to return a Boolean, so I think this should work, right? Because I'm checking local character. So what I'm gonna do, or maybe I don't even have to put this ternary operator because I know it's null. Let me just do it like this, and it's gonna check local character to see if it's valid. Okay, so that looks good. We're only gonna cast if we have to, and since, let me see if I can put it all in the same line because it's not that long anymore. So this is better. So if BU server side rewind is true, if we're not on the server, and if we get a valid character, this is the character that we just hit. What we want to get is the owner of this weapon, right? The owner of this weapon is this character, and we can call this owning player character, right? And I'll probably end up changing this when I further down the line, so that as soon as you equip your weapon, you set this variable. This will be a member variable, and you set this so that you don't have to like cast at all. And then when you drop your weapon, this gets set to null. Maybe I should just do that right now, because that would help a lot. So whenever you equip a weapon, you set the owner, and when you drop a weapon, okay, I'll do that another time. Let me stick on task, and I'll just add that to my to-do list. Make the game a bit more efficient. Declare and initialize a pointer to animation entertainment character on the weapon base class. Set pointer should be set when a weapon is picked up and dropped. Okay, so that's on my to-do list. I'll do that once I start working on the bugs. WordPad, yeah, I just use whatever text editor I have. I'm I'm not paying for Microsoft uh, uh, Office, so, and then I don't mind using WordPad. Excel is not Excel. Word is cool, but it's a membership, and I'm not. There's no reason for me to pay for that unless they have a free version, but I haven't really looked into it. Okay, so after we get the owner, so all this is valid. Yeah, yeah. All the I try not to pay for memberships if I don't need it. Not just Microsoft. I'm talking about anything. Like Netflix, I get it for free from my phone plan, and then I mean, Prime Video is free if you have Amazon Prime. So I guess you are paying for it, but I think that's worth it because you get free shipping, 2-day shipping, and you get Prime Video, and they have just a lot of features. So I just try to be as cost effective with my money as possible. I don't know if I said that correctly. I try not to spend if I don't have to. Okay, so we need to develop 2 structs. Server side rewind for raycast weapons. And the first one is going to be the first one needs to be it can actually be in this raycast weapon. It's a variable and it's not a struct, and it's going to be a T map. So we can copy this, and this T map is gonna map an A animation entertainment character to gonna map this character. So this is gonna be the character that we damage when we shoot. It's gonna map this character to a struct. So let's create the structs. So similar to this implementation of how we save like the box components to this structure using this T-map. It's a similar implementation, but not quite. Okay, so this struct is going to be called, I'm gonna call this headshot information. So I need two structs. I need one for headshots and one for non-headshots. This one is going to be called non-headshot information, and it's going to have a boolean, and we're going to initialize this boolean to, this boolean is going to be called B headshot damage. So basically is this struct containing damage variables that relate to headshots. B headshot damage. Yikes. B headshot damage. I think, yeah, whatever. I can leave it as 2 words. And this is gonna initialize this to false. It's already initialized to false here. But just so it's clear, we'll just write false. And it's gonna, the second thing in this, the second component in the struct is gonna be another T map that maps a float. This float is going to contain the time that this character got hit, and it's going to an F vector net quantize, right, which is going to hold the location where it got hit. And it's we're using F vector net quantize because we need to send this over the internet, over the net. And net quantize is the version of F vector that is developed for network use. The way it stores information is made so that, I'm trying to make sure I have the right, oh, here it is. is made so that it compresses it, right? And so it just sends what absolutely needs to be sent. So there's like different versions of it, right? Let's see, we look at the IntelliSense is taking its time to show me. There we go. So we have different versions of it, and these are the bigger ones which store more information. So like 2 decimal places of precision. This has 1 decimal place of precision. This has 0 decimal places of precision, right? So depending on what you're sending, you might want to pick a bigger version, one that stores more information. And the name of this map, we're gonna call it, let's see, non-headshot information for respective character map. So non-headshot information for respective character map, right? And so this is for non-headshots. We need 1 for headshots, right? So we can copy that, and we can just delete the non. So this is headshot information, and we can put this to true, and we just rename this to headshot information for respective character map. I'll use MS Paint to draw diagrams personally. Microsoft Paint. Oh, I just use I don't know if this is the same thing you're talking about, just Paint like this right here. I use this all the time if this is what you're talking about. I don't know if this is called Microsoft Paint or not. I just know it's called Paint, right? I always use Paint if that's what you're talking about, right? So we have our 2 structs that we're going to use, and okay, yeah, that's it. Yeah, I always use Paint. Always, it's the easiest. It's the easiest for me. And we're gonna map this map to. So we need 2 maps. We need this one, which is it's gonna be called. Actually, this is gonna be the non-headshot one. So let's go ahead and map it to. And I don't need this anymore. We're gonna map it to this right here, and we can call this non-headshot information for non-headshot character map. Sounds good, right? Non-headshot character map, right? So we're mapping a character to this non-headshot information, and this map is what we're going to be using, and then we can create another one for headshots. So headshot information, place this right here, and this can be called headshot character map, right? And we could put a note, say these are used for server side rewind. And right here we can write, we write these variables. I'll just copy this, paste it right here. These variables are used for authoritative, used for applying damage when server side rewind is disabled. Right, and actually I'm gonna copy this. These values are used for applying damage when server side rewind is enabled. Right. Personally, I use paper since for some reason writing things down just gets my brain to really think. Oh, alright. It's been a while since I used paper. I draw, but it's been a while since I drew. Most of the time I'm just either typing my stuff on my notepad in my phone or on my computer. Right. Only really when I use paper is when I'm filling out forms. I haven't used like paper. Actually, like, yeah, it's been a while. I have paper like documents here that I used to take notes on, but it's been a while since I took notes on paper. I started using like a PC or my phone. Just because it's just more efficient. So I could just pull out my phone, go on my notepad, start taking notes, start pseudocoding on my phone, whatever. When something comes to mind, my phone's right there. I could just note it down so I don't forget it, right? Okay, so let's see. Okay, so we're using server side rewind and we have the structures that we're going to use. So let's go ahead and close these. Okay, so now what we need to do is we need to check if we're checking here. So we're using server side rewind. If we get in this check, we need to check if we can grab this boolean, right? Because we're using it. Actually, before I do that, let me put an else here, and then we're gonna do everything here and here. I just want to make sure that this checks. Okay, this checks that. Okay, yeah, so we can put all these in here. So if we're not using server side rewind, then the server is going to take care of the damage, right? This is fired in all. Let's see. Maybe this was a headshot. Headshot map contains. Right, so we're adding the stuff to the map. But only the server is calling the damage, right? So actually we can just do this on, we can do all this on the server. There's no reason for clients to be doing this, right? So we can add all this in here. Let's just do that. And even this can be in here now that I think about it. So let me copy this first in here. This actually I want to put this up here so we can just use it once. Oh, declare it once, right? So I'll put it up here. And right here I'll use it, and I could delete this. And we're checking if we're on the server. So I can actually put else if right here. And I can delete this, right? And let's go ahead and okay, so it looks good. So only if we're using server side rewind, if we're not on the server, and we have a valid reference to our owner, we're doing this. Otherwise, if we're the authority, we're doing this. So these are the only two options, right? Either the server is going to apply damage directly, or we're going to tell the server to check and make sure to validate our hit because we're lagging, right? So that's what we're doing here. We're doing all this on the server. Makes sense. And then when we're not on the server, or rather after, then we're doing this on all players, all instances, spawning the bullet trails and the particle effects. And then on the server, we're calling this only on the server, right? Otherwise, we are on every instance of every character. We're doing these raycasts, and we are checking if we hit a character. Let me see. I can actually add this check to see if we're on the server out here. So if we hit a character that implements this, actually let me put it up here. So if we hit a character that implements this interface and we're on the server, then we can go ahead and apply damage. So put this right here and just fix this up a bit. Delete this extra curly bracket, right? And this right here, okay, this is only happening on the server. And then out here, every character is doing this, spawning the impact particles and the bullet trails. So before I move on to implement the server side rewind, I'm going to check, I'm going to compile this and make sure that my logic is cool. Yo, Hamza, how you doing? Pray everything's going well with you. Like always, got some errors. A animation entertainment character undeclared identifier header 103. Right, I didn't forward declare it. And I think I need to actually just I don't think I need to include it, but since I'm using it, I'm probably gonna have to include it. Seems like I miss. Right, I need to also include this structs. A class of document. It is in right here. I forgot to include it. And I'm sure it's because of the character class. 173. Let's see what 173 is. Okay, it's right here. It's saying something about this. So let's see what it's saying. Assignment within conditional expression. Okay, I thought I could assign it and check it. But there has to be another way to do it because I've seen it done before. Let me check. Right here, I've seen it. Unreal Engine did it. It's a special kind of cast. Epic did it, I mean. Yeah, right here. They declared it and they casted it. So I guess I have to do. Isn't that what I did? No, I declared it outside. So let me try this. Right. They declared it and then they initialized it with a cast. And they're checking it. So yeah. That's where I first saw it and I was like, I didn't know you could do that. And I was like, that's pretty nice. And now I'm trying to do it, but I guess I didn't and I didn't do it completely right. Expected a closing parentheses. Let's see. Expected a closing parentheses. Okay, so let me check this again. I'm not sure. Wait, did I forget? All right, let me. Saying expected a closing parentheses. Right. So if I put this in parentheses again, expected a closing parentheses. Huh, I wonder what I'm not doing right, because they're declaring it right here. And then they're initializing it in the same line. If okay, so I'm gonna try it, putting it in its own if statement. So if this is valid, only then I'm gonna put this inside this if check and see if it work. Then I'm gonna say if and this doesn't need two parentheses. There we go. And let's see. Okay, so it has to be on its own. It can't be with anything else, I guess. Because if I add this back to this if statement and just put an and, it's gonna give me an error saying it expected a closing parentheses. Oh, I think that's what I did. No, still not working. So I can't wrap it on its own either. Huh, I didn't know that. I guess you learn something new every day. Yep. Okay, well, I guess I have to do it this way. Okay. Let me compile it and make sure everything works. And I think I enabled server-side rewind by default. So I'm not gonna apply any damage, but I just want to make sure the gun's still firing. Plus I made significant changes, so I have to completely rebuild. I made changes to the header files, so whenever you do that you have to rebuild, especially when you add new property variables, because the engine has to add those onto the, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, but sometimes it just, it has to add it onto the viewport inside of the, like visually add it. So I think that's why it crashes, because it's not, I don't know how to articulate what I want to say, but yeah, sometimes you have to rebuild it. So it's rebuilt. So pretty confident I didn't break anything, because I literally just refactored a little bit of code and added structures and a variable or two, maybe 3 variables. So let's try this out and continue on this journey. Okay, so we got the 2 clients and no damage is going to be applied, but I just want to see if it's still firing. Okay, damage is applying, so I think I didn't enable server side rewind by default. Right, because damage, if it is, if damage, hold on, let me just check. If I go to my weapon class and I go to variables, okay, it is set to true by default. So when I fire the shotgun, I shouldn't be getting damage. I'm checking if right, if use server side rewind is true. Oh right, but every character is shooting the gun, right? So even the character on the server that you see on the left right here is also firing the gun. That's the authoritative character. So when I fire my gun, that authoritative character is also firing its gun, and since it's firing its gun, it's applying damage right here. So I have to write, if use server side rewind is true and I don't have authority, then enter here. Otherwise I just put else, right? I want to make sure that this only happens on the server though, so I want to keep this right here. If BU server side rewind is true and I'm not on the server, then we're gonna go here. But on this character that's not on the server, I mean that is on the server, it's gonna say if BU server side rewind is true, which it is, then it's gonna go here, but it's gonna say no, I do have authority. So this is gonna fail. Then it's gonna come here and say else if I have authority. Then it's gonna say yeah, I have authority. So it's gonna apply damage. Okay, so I want it to be how do I word this so that, okay, I'll just have to put if server side rewind is true, we do this, else come in here, and then I'll put this right here. So if use server side rewind is true, we're gonna go in here, then we're gonna get the owner. So this needs to be true, and I also need to check if BU server side rewind is true, and I want to be locally controlled. So I'm gonna go in here and check if this is valid. Then when this is valid, I'm gonna check if this is locally controlled, and then we're gonna apply validate damage with server side rewind, right? Otherwise, if this is false, then we're gonna go in here and we're gonna check if we are on the server, and then we're only gonna do all this stuff on the server. So it's gonna move all this right here, because if this is false, because if this is true, oh, okay, I don't have to do that. Let me just undo that real quick. Okay, I want to copy this so I don't have to retype it, and then I'm going to, okay, yikes. Let me copy this. And paste it back. So we're gonna check if this is true. If it's true, we're gonna go in here, because this will be true on all. Let me actually change that, because it needs to be edit defaults only. Wait, no, this is cool. So if this is true, we're gonna go in here. Else if means if we have authority, we'll go in here. So if this is true, we'll go in here. Regardless of whether we're on the server or not, we'll go in here, right? So, but then we're gonna check if we're locally controlled down here, so it's fine. Otherwise, if this is not true, then we're gonna check if we are on the server, and then we'll do damage. So this should work. Now when I fight her, I shouldn't kill anyone or apply any damage, right? Nice. Because server side rewind is on. Let me but if I, and even when I use the server, I need to grab a shotgun, it still won't apply damage because server side rewind is on, right? So what I need to check, because the server will never use server side rewind, so if server side rewind is on and I don't have authority, I think this is what I had before. So if server side rewind is on and I don't have authority, then do this. But then if I have authority, okay, so this is not gonna work, because then the server's character is gonna apply damage, right? If this is on, then the server is not gonna apply damage at all with any of their characters, right? So even the server doesn't apply damage. So this is basically saying the player who's playing is the one who is sending the information to the server to validate that information for damage. Otherwise, the server is the one that's, otherwise the server will validate the damage on their own authoritative characters, which are right here. So server-side rewind basically gives the authority to, oh, that's cool. I can move the character around when it's paused. I exited the viewport, right? And I'm moving this. I don't know which character I'm moving around, but I'm moving one of them around. It crashed. I guess you're not supposed to be able to do that. Anyway, so yeah. This enables the character to send information to the server to validate the damage, and the server only validates the damage. It has no, like, doesn't have no knowledge. It doesn't have any knowledge of where you are, or I mean, it has the knowledge of where you are, but it relies on you to send it information to validate the damage, right? Otherwise, the server is gonna use its own knowledge to validate the damage. So this works. So server-side rewind is on. So now I'm understanding it more, why it really can't be a good thing if you're a laggy player. So I mean, it's a good thing for the laggy player, but for the non-laggy players, they'll have a hard time because they already have fast internet, so they're not benefiting for this server-side rewind. This is only for the laggy players, and that's why you want to limit how much information you're saving, right? Because a very laggy player will be killing people left, center, and right because they're seeing everything in the past. People will be dying around corners all the time when they get killed by this laggy player. But when they're seeing the laggy player, they're seeing an even later, even older instance of that laggy player, right? So they're seeing the past of that laggy player. So the laggy player is not even there, right? It's the same. It's the same concept, right? But all right, let's implement server-side rewind. Okay, so we got the structs, got the variable set. Now we're here, and actually I want to put this node up here. And validate damage with server-side rewind. And right here, I'm right. Whatever. Okay, so first things first, we're gonna check if let's check if it was a headshot or not, and this is gonna determine which struct we're gonna use. So if we hit the head, or yeah, I'm right, this was a headshot, then we're gonna access the map, the headshot character map, right? And this actually holds, I'm gonna rename this to headshot character information map. I don't know if that's what I called the other structure, the map. Headshot information for, nope. Alright, so I can use that name. And right here I'll name this non-headshot character information map. Right, so we're gonna get this map right here, and what we're gonna do is check if this map contains And we need to check this actor. So let me see if I'm using a, okay, I need to change this to an A actor, right? Because that is what we're getting right here, and I don't want to cast again, right? So we're gonna check if it equals, if it has this character that we just hit, right? And maybe I should check even before going into this function if this is valid, right? Because we are getting a pointer. Yeah, this is a pointer, so we should probably check right here if this is valid before even entering and doing anything in here. And I think I put two, it says I put 2 stars, which I did. So that's, I'm gonna check to see if this is valid right here. If this is valid, only then am I gonna do anything that's inside this if check. So I'm gonna just move all this code in here and give it a quick tab, and then let's see, what is this? Right. I guess I should check this out here because this is where I'm using the pointer. So this makes no sense. Right. And I'll put this check out here. And put this right here. Then I'll paste all this, or rather copy this or move it right here. Right, and then we're good to go from there. From this point on, we're good. Right. Okay. Looks good to me. So we're checking to see if this map contains this out hit actor. And I did change the name, but I guess I didn't change it. I did change it, but it's not updating right here. It's saying I still have 2 stars right here. Right. Headshot character information map has 1 star or a pointer. I think that's a false negative. Let me compile it real quick and see if it fixes itself. On 84. All right, let me try it now. Okay, yeah, it's a false negative, so it's just malfunctioning. Shouldn't be here. So yeah, if it was a headshot, and then we're saying if this map contains this character, then what we're gonna do is we're gonna access this map, and we're going to index this character. Right. And then from this, we're going to get the structure, right? We're getting this structure, and we're gonna get this map, and we're gonna set the time that we hit this character, as well as the location where we hit it. So that is, I think it's I think I actually need to just like refresh Visual Studio because it's giving me false negatives. Let's open it back up. Just waiting for IntelliSense to catch up, and then see now it works. So always I have to refresh it. So we're gonna get this map, and then within this map, what we're gonna do is, like I said, get or rather, it already contains this character. So we're getting this map, and it already contains this character. So we're just gonna add this information. So, well, information we need to add is the time that we hit it, the time we hit this character, and the place where we hit it, right? Because that's the only way we're gonna be able to tell the server to rewind the time to that specific time, and see if we hit the character at that specific location. But before we do that, we need to get the server time, right? Because we're viewing, if it's lagging, we're viewing the character in the past, right? If we are the laggy player, whatever we see on our screen is not the updated information on the server. And really no one has the updated information on the server, because the server is the absolute like most updated version of the game, and it has to send everyone else that information so they can update it on their screen. But the more laggy your internet is, the more out of date you are if you compare your screens to everybody else. So you'll see someone 10 feet in front of you, when someone with a better information will see that person's running towards you. That person will be 10 feet in front of you, while someone with a better internet connection will see that person. So every time to refresh our memory is okay. So the player controller, which is the animation entertainment controller, and this is where we request the official server time, right? So, and this is where we receive the server time. So what we need to make a function to get the server time and the difference between our time and the server time, and I'll explain why. But first, let's make that function, and it's going to be a let me make another region public setters, and what I'm going to put in this section is all these functions, right? Because we're setting the HUD here. And for the public getters, it will be I'm gonna write a void get authoritative server time, right? And this will be, we'll just return a float. So let's define this here in the animation controller and put this right here. And it can be const because it's not changing anything. So let's add a const here as well. All right, so within this function, we're gonna check. Let's see. We need to get a reference to the world, so we're gonna say view world pointer world and initialize this with get world. I'm going to check if world is valid. If world is valid, we're going to, so it depends. If we're on the server, then we're just going to return. Okay, so we're going to say if we know we have a reference to the player, right? Because we set it right here, right? So we're going to actually check if world, if this and world is valid. And then we're going to check if we have authority, which means we're on the server and we're calling this function, right? So if we're on the server and we're calling this function, that means we just need to return get time seconds, right? What is this thing saying? Oh, yikes. So yeah, if we are on the server, just return if the server is calling this function, return the world. I'll just put this, return, right? Else, or I think there's a more elegant way to write this. I'm gonna write this like this. If so, return this. Otherwise, we're gonna return, and let's get rid of this. So we're checking if this has authority. If it does, return this. Otherwise, return, we need to get the server time, which we have right here. We have the difference between our time and the server time. So we need to return our time plus the difference basically the difference between the server time and the client time. So we need to add the time that it takes for the the server to communicate with us onto what we return, and that's the server time. Now it's saying expected expression, so I don't know if I'm not able to write code like this. It would be nice if it was like, wait, does this have authority, question mark? If so, return this, otherwise return this. I mean, you would think that this is legal, but I guess this isn't legal syntax. Jeez. This returns a boolean, and I'm asking a ternary question. So if I remove the return, does it work or what? Okay, so now it works, right? So I guess I can say, okay, instead of putting this right here, I think what I did wrong was I should write return this. Right? And I think this is the right way to do it. Okay, yeah, nice, very nice. So and then if this is not valid, then we still have to return something. So I'm gonna have to write this line is to meet the return requirements of this function, and I'm gonna return 0.f. Okay, so now we have a function that we can get the authoritative server time, and also I need another function because I want to get this as well, and a getter, and I can make that I can either make this public, this variable public, or I can make a getter for it. And I think what I want to do is just make a getter for it. And I have to let me put these in their own regions. Pragma and region, right? And right here I'll make a function to get this. So I'll name this function get. Difference between server time and client time. Also going to return a float. It's going to be const, and it's just going to return this, right? Could have just made this a force inline. I should probably just do that instead of actually making a definition for it. Okay. believe I deleted this. Okay, there we go. Yeah, we're good now. Now we can officially continue the server-side rewind. So what we need to in place here is the time that we hit it, as well as the location that we hit the character. And I said I was going to explain why we need the difference between the server time and the client time. So it's the same thing I've been saying this whole time. What we see on the screen is, if we're lagging, is the past. It's not the updated version of the character, right, of whatever we're looking at. So I think the best way for me to do this is to actually just simulate some lag so you guys can see it. And to do that, I need to change some configurations within the engine.ini file. And I don't remember, I think the syntax is simulation settings, and I think it's in curly bracket. And PKT packet lag. And we can set this equal to like 700 so it can really be seen. And I'm not sure this is the syntax. Let me just check, because I did take a screenshot of it. Packet simulation settings. Okay, it's packet simulation settings. And PKT lag, right? PKT lag. Okay. And rebuild it again. Yikes, I forgot the colon. Let me quickly comment out this code before it gives me infinite errors. All right, so with lag, let's see what it looks like, right? We have to see it, what it looks, look how long it's taking for it to, that's how bad the lag is, right? So client 1, client 2. So we're gonna see just how much of a delay each character has on the other person's screen. So you see I'm walking on this screen, but you see how long the delay took, right? So on my screen I'm walking, then the server receives the update, it starts moving my character, and then this other client receives the update from the server, and then it moves my character, right? So you see, like the order of, let me see if I can make this more visible like this. Okay, so if you look, the top left screen moves first, then the server gets the update, and then it moves to the what's the best. All right, we're gonna look this way so you guys can see it clearly, and I'm just gonna move back and forth over here, right? So I'm gonna move back and forth like this. So if you look on my screen, I have the most. I'm all the way forward, like on my screen I'm up like further ahead. The server gets my update, and then it moves my character. But look how far behind the bottom screen is. Like if we move closer, right? The bottom screen is the bottom left screen. The bottom left game instance gets my location so much later, right, than the server. Actually, the server is sending it to the bottom left screen of game, but since my lag on the top left is so bad, it's taking a long time for me just to communicate with the server. The server has no problem communicating with the bottom left game. It's just that it's receiving my message so late, right? So we need to get the server time, because if we are this screen and we shoot, look, I can't even look how long it takes to equip my weapon. I shoot this character, I need to tell the server, hey, I just shot this character on the time that's on your screen. We all have the same time, right? Because I synchronized our time, but I need to tell the server to use its time of when this character was at the time I send it, and that time that I send it, I need to subtract the amount of time it takes for me to communicate from to the server, right? So the amount of time it takes for me to communicate to the server, I need to subtract that time from the server time, right? Because that's the time that I shot it. You see, if I shoot first. The server shoots first because it has authority, right? But I request it, and then some moments later, the server shoots, and then I shoot. So that should help you visualize it. I press reload, the server starts reloading first, and then I reload, right? Because the server has authority. So I'm gonna press fire, and you're gonna see my crosshair spread, and that's happening locally on my screen, right? Like no one else knows about my crosshair spreading. The server doesn't know about that because it doesn't. That's just like cosmetics. But in terms of firing and applying damage, the server has authority, right? So if you look on the server screen, you're gonna see me fire first here, and then I believe I'll fire second on my instance, and then other clients will see me fire. And the same thing goes for aiming. See, like I aim, then it takes time for the server to receive my update from me, and then it aims, and then it sends that update to everybody else in the game, right? You see, so when I fire, the server fires first, and I fire along with everybody else, actually. So I fire along with all the other clients, right? Because the server has authority over that, right? The server is controlling when I fire, because you don't want people just being able to fire if they're lagging. and applying damage regardless of whether they're lagging or not, right? And cheating and whatnot. Same goes for like all the other combat, like reloading. I press reload, the server starts reloading first, and then I get the update, right? And I keep pressing fire, and I have to wait. So right here, the time that I'm gonna send the server that I hit the character is going to be this is the wrong class. It's going to be the server official time, and then we're going to minus this time, the time it takes for us to communicate to the server, because that's the time that we have on our screen, right? The time that we have on our screen right here is the server time minus the time it takes for us to communicate to the server, right? So like I walk to the I run in front of the server and I stop. You see? That time it takes for us to communicate to the server, that's the time we subtract to get the official server time. That's the time that we hit the character on the server, right? Because we have to communicate to the server that we hit the character. So we got to subtract that time. So, hope that makes sense. We're going to go where we need to get a reference to the controller, right? So we know we're locally controlled. We also need to let's get a reference to our controller. We're gonna call this our A animation entertainment controller. We can call this own and play controller. We can set this, initialize this to, I wonder if I can put this in curly braces, because I like initializing with curly braces. Oh, nice, I can. And give me an error. Yes. Keep everything as consistent as I can. So yeah, the controller is going to be equal to this, and I wonder if I have a getter for it. Get player. Nice, I have a getter. Okay, so we're gonna get the player controller here, and then we're gonna check if we're locally controlled. And this is valid, and we need to check if this is valid before we use the pointer. So we're checking if this is valid, checking if we're locally controlled, and we're checking if this is valid. Only then are we gonna get enter here, right? And within this if check, we're going to check if it was a headshot or not, and that's set up here. As soon as we hit somebody, we see if we hit the head, so we checking that here. And then we're gonna place the key for this T-map, which is the time we hit the character. And let's put that in by getting the controller. And let's actually, I'm gonna declare a const float, and it's going to be called official server time. Official authoritative server time. Right, so this gives us the official server authoritative time. And we're gonna pass that in. And the next float is, the next value rather, that hit dot impact point, right? And am I still streaming? I don't know what happened. You can see me on your screen? Because I think my computer's acting up. Yeah. Okay, what is going on? I wonder. It's green. I wonder why it's green. It's not showing. It says my stream quality is good. The stream has disconnected, attempting to reconnect. 3 minutes ago.